We're delighted right now to be joined by Scott Lucas, Professor of International Politics at the Clinton Institute at the University College Dublin. Good afternoon to you, Scott.
Good afternoon, Julia.
Thank you so much for joining us. So we're getting very, very heated about Greg Wallace, but I'm sure people can get very, very heated about Donald Trump and Joe Biden, in particular Hunter Biden today. We all woke up this morning to the news that Joe Biden, as the outgoing president of the United States, has gone against everything he said, categorically he said, and the White House said he has decided to pardon his son Hunter Biden, and not just for the two key charges on tax evasion and basically obtaining his gun license with incorrect information, fraudulent information, for which he faces sentencing later this month. He's actually pardoned him for anything he could have done in the last 10 years. Tell us how that works.
Yeah, I mean, as an analyst, Julia, I disagree with the pardon. I mean, I disagree with any politician interfering in the legal process. Yeah. I also think it's a politically bad move because it gives Donald Trump cover for all the pardons of his friends and his associates during his first term, and for the pardons that he's going to dole out in January, including to those involved in January 6th and the attack on the Capitol. As a father, however, of two adult children, and knowing the context, I understand why he did it. He is very close to the children. He lost his other son, Beau, as you know, to brain cancer. He lost his daughter early on and his first wife to a traffic accident. From his point of view, Hunter's been pleading for 5.5 years. And he thinks that Hunter will just continue to face all this political pressure, especially with Donald Trump not only coming in, but trying to co-opt the Justice Department. So again, I think legally and politically it's the wrong thing to do, but I have some sympathy for why he did it.
There seems to be an awful lot of people kind of justifying, even there's actually some reporters, pretending to be completely neutral, saying, oh, well, the trauma he's gone to look. I mean, God, losing his wife and two children, all in tragic circumstances, absolutely your heart goes out to him. But nevertheless, Hunter Biden he says the prosecution was targeted him because of his son. I think Hunter Biden was completely banged to rights. I mean, he actually avoided prosecution for a long period of time when he shouldn't have. But for him to say before the election he would not pardon him and then choose to pardon him and criticise Donald Trump, who has also pardoned, a sort of member of his family, his son-in-law's father. Clinton did this with a member of his family. Other presidents done this. He won't be alone in doing this. But it is just rank hypocrisy and dishonesty, isn't it?
I just go back to my initial answer, Julia, and that is that politically and legally, I think this decision can be and should be criticized. But personally, Joe Biden, who is ending his political career after more than 50 years, I think he reverted to the personal and being a father. And I think, Hunter Biden should be held legally accountable. And he was convicted. But I think the prospect of the ongoing political calls for Hunter Biden, for example, to be prosecuted over China, over Ukraine, where I've got to be honest with you, a lot of that is misinformation. He wanted to close that off as well. I'll say one other thing, just with respect. I think we need to deal with this case as you and I are doing and do it quite well. And then we need to deal with the Trump cases as well and not make a false equivalence here.
That's true.
The level of pardons that Trump gave out, just as a reminder, to one former campaign manager, Paul Manafort, who was serving 7.5 years on financial crimes, to a preemptive pardon to another campaign manager, Steve Bannon, over a fraud case, over a series of advisors involved in the cover-up of what happened between Trump and Russia, including Michael Flynn, the former national security advisor, and even some people who are coming back into his cabinet.
I mean, that's the scale of it. Oh, no, absolutely. I mean, again, I agree with you. I just don't think any president should do this. That they are allowed to do it, but I don't think they should. But you talk about misinformation. There's lots of misinformation on the internet about a lot of these things. But again, it's also very, very clear Hunter Biden had absolutely zero qualifications to take on these incredible roles where he was paying huge sums of money in Ukraine and China to be on boards of companies he knew nothing about whatsoever. And the only reason he could possibly have had those roles is because Daddy was vice president.
Yeah, I mean, so to take the Hunter Biden case on, I think, again, any jobs for the kids, you've got to look into that. But in terms of whether Joe Biden exerted influence on Ukraine or China, or whether there was payoff for this, that was investigated and there was nothing found.
Got a lot of that family's got an awful lot of money for a family that has basically been in public service all their lives. Just saying.
Yeah, but again, that is not tied to Chinese or Ukrainian money flowing secretly to Joe Biden. And in terms of job for the kids as well, not playing whataboutism here, but it has happened with others as well. It happened with Donald Trump's daughter and with his son-in-law. And as you know,
again, I think a lot of people just say a plague on all their houses, don't they? And that's the trouble. But again, the politicization of the American justice system, both sides will criticize the other. But whether it's criminal charges or pardons, but actually they all do it, and the system is itself. I mean, with the Supreme Court justice being appointed on a political basis, the ultimate court in the land, and elected, district attorneys and stuff. It is intrinsically a politicized system.
Well, and that's where I think we got to go farther, Julia. And you and I have got to discuss where we go next with the Justice Department. And here we have to be very clear: the Justice Department. Not always perfect, but what is going to be attempted in 2025 is an attempt to bend the Justice Department to the will of one man.
Yeah.
That is why Matt Gaetz was going to be Attorney General there. He couldn't cut it.
Yeah.
So Pam Bondi is going there. And that's why Kash Patel, who is an entirely political appointment with no qualifications, is going to head the FBI. So I think the attention for everyone to say, look, the Justice Department should be above interference by any politician.
Yeah. That would certainly be a very good system if they could get that. Scott Lucas, always good to talk to you, sir. Thank you for taking the time.